The storm rolled in like a dark tide, heavy clouds swallowing the fading light of day. I stood by the window, watching as the first raindrops splattered against the glass, each one a reminder of how isolated I felt in our quiet town of Maplewood, Wisconsin. My husband was away on a business trip, leaving me alone with my thoughts and an unsettling restlessness that had been creeping in for weeks. I had never anticipated feeling so lonely after all these years of marriage. As the wind howled outside, I turned away from the window and wandered into the living room. The familiar scent of cedar from the wooden beams above filled my lungs, grounding me momentarily. I reached for a framed photograph resting on the mantelpiece, a snapshot from a summer picnic years ago. In it, my son smiled widely, his youthful face radiating joy as he held up a fish he'd caught at the lake. Memories flooded back, laughter echoing through our home, his small hands gripping mine as we walked along Main Street during local festivals. The sky darkened further, and thunder rumbled ominously in the distance. I felt a shiver run down my spine, not solely from the chill creeping into our house but from something deeper stirring within me. The storm seemed to amplify feelings I had buried for too long. It was strange how nature could reflect one's inner turmoil so vividly. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was past 6. Dinner would usually be simmering on the stove by now, but tonight felt different, unsettled. My son was upstairs, likely absorbed in his studies or playing video games with friends online. He was 19 now, no longer that little boy who needed me for everything but still very much a part of my life. A sudden crash of thunder jolted me back to reality, rattling window panes and sending my heart racing. I took a deep breath to steady myself but found it hard to shake off an unsettling thought that had taken root, an inexplicable longing that had begun to blossom between us, a connection that felt both beautiful and wrong. The lights flickered and then went out completely, plunging our home into darkness. A sense of panic washed over me. I fumbled for my phone to use its flashlight feature but found only silence around me. The storm outside roared with intensity now, rain lashing against the windows like an angry beast. "Mom?" My son's voice called out from upstairs. "I'm here," I replied softly, feeling an odd mix of relief and apprehension wash over me at his presence. He appeared at the top of the stairs silhouetted against what little light filtered through the windows. "Do you need anything? The power's out?" "No," I said quickly, realizing how vulnerable I sounded in this moment of darkness and uncertainty. He made his way down cautiously before joining me in the living room. "I thought we could play cards or something," he suggested lightly, trying to lighten the mood despite our dim surroundings. "Sure," I replied with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. As he rummaged through drawers looking for games, I couldn't help but notice how much he had grown, broad shoulders filling out his t-shirt and confidence radiating from him like warmth on a summer day. With no distractions around us except for each other and the storm raging outside, an uneasy tension settled between us. The air crackled with something unspoken as we sat across from each other on our old dining table illuminated by my phone's flashlight. "Do you remember that time we went fishing?" he asked suddenly, breaking through my swirling thoughts. I nodded slowly, memories cascaded like raindrops outside, fishing rods tangled together and sunburned shoulders laughing under warm rays. "You caught that huge bass." "I think it was more about you getting us lost," he teased lightly as if trying to dispel whatever heaviness lingered between us. I chuckled softly but felt a tightening in my chest, a sense of nostalgia mixed with something else entirely different that made my heart race again. Our laughter echoed hollowly against walls steeped in memories while thunder rumbled outside like some cosmic drumbeat amplifying every heartbeat between us. In this momentary bubble created by darkness and stormy skies, emotions surged within me. Feelings I had tried to ignore began surfacing like fish breaking water's surface after being trapped below too long. As we continued talking about trivial things, the weather forecast or plans for school, I became acutely aware of how close we were sitting. It felt electric yet terrifying all at once. Then came another crash of thunder. It shook not just our house but also something deep inside me, a visceral reminder that life was unpredictable and fleeting. My breath caught as if struck by lightning itself. Suddenly everything seemed magnified, the way he looked at me when he spoke or how his laughter lingered longer than usual in this confined space filled with shadows. "What's wrong?" he asked suddenly when he noticed my expression shift toward unease, perhaps sensing what even I didn't fully understand yet. "Nothing," I managed to whisper back even though everything felt wrong, like standing on shifting sand without knowing which way to go next or whether stepping forward would lead to disaster or discovery. Just then, another clap of thunder echoed loudly enough to make both jump slightly. It felt like nature itself was urging us towards some inevitable conclusion neither could foresee yet both sensed looming just beyond reach. A precipice where boundaries blurred under pressure until they might shatter entirely if given half a chance. As silence fell again after that last roar faded into memory alongside distant raindrops pattering against rooftops outside, I knew one thing: whatever lay ahead would change everything, and leave us breathless amidst this stormy chaos threatening to consume all rationality along with its shadows cast upon our lives forevermore. The storm outside raged on, a symphony of chaos that mirrored the turmoil in my heart. The air was thick with tension, each crack of thunder resonating deep within me, shaking loose thoughts I had long buried. My son sat across from me, his face illuminated intermittently by flashes of lightning, casting shadows that danced across the walls like specters of our unspoken emotions. I tried to focus on the mundane, how we needed to find candles, how I should check the battery on the flashlight, but each thought was drowned out by the rhythm of rain pounding against the windows. In that moment, I felt trapped between two worlds, one of societal norms and expectations, and another where desire flickered like the candlelight that struggled to break through the darkness. "Do you think it will ever stop?" he asked, his voice barely audible over the storm's roar. I shrugged, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "It always does eventually." He looked away, and I sensed a shift in him too, a shared understanding of what this night could mean. The weight of our proximity pressed down on us both as if we were standing at the edge of an abyss. We were two souls adrift in a tempest, desperately seeking shelter yet drawn to each other like moths to a flame. As I stood up to search for candles in the kitchen, I felt his gaze follow me. It was unsettling yet thrilling. It ignited something within me that had lain dormant for far too long. The flickering shadows created an intimacy I had never expected to share with him. Guilt gnawed at my insides as I rummaged through drawers filled with memories, pictures from family vacations, birthday cards with childish scrawls, and stumbled upon an old photo of him as a boy. His laughter echoed in my mind as I held it up to the faint light. "Look at you," I said softly, unable to suppress a smile. "Yeah," he replied with a hint of nostalgia in his voice. "I was such a dork." "You still are," I teased lightly, but there was an edge to my words that neither of us could ignore. The air shifted again as another clap of thunder shook the house. A shiver ran down my spine, not from fear but from something deeper and more unsettling. My heart raced as I returned to sit beside him on the couch. The darkness enveloped us like a cocoon, and for a fleeting moment, it felt safe, a refuge from reality. "I wish things were different," he murmured after a pause that stretched between us like an unbridgeable chasm. "Different how?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. He hesitated before speaking again. "I don't know, just different." His eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my breath hitch. In that moment, everything else faded away. The storm outside and all its noise became mere background noise to our shared silence filled with unacknowledged desires and fears. Our breaths mingled in the dim light as we sat close enough to feel warmth radiating off one another despite the chill creeping in from outside. Then it happened, an impulsive decision made amidst chaos and confusion. We kissed. The world around us faded into nothingness. Time suspended itself as our lips met softly at first before deepening into something more urgent, a collision of emotions sparked by years of restraint and longing. The kiss broke apart abruptly when reality crashed back into focus like lightning illuminating dark skies. Shock coursed through me alongside exhilaration and dread intertwined tightly within my chest. "What just happened?" he whispered breathlessly, eyes wide with disbelief mirroring my own internal conflict. My voice faltered as guilt washed over me like cold water dousing flames that had ignited moments before. We shouldn't have. His words trailed off into uncertainty as if he too grappled with understanding what this meant for us both moving forward or if it meant anything at all beyond this stormy night filled with secrets waiting patiently beneath layers built over years spent together, as mother and son. The silence stretched again until it became unbearable. Thick enough to choke on yet fragile enough to shatter at any moment under scrutiny or judgment from ourselves or others if they ever found out about this fleeting moment shared between two people who should never have crossed such boundaries willingly placed by society's expectations surrounding familial love versus desire cloaked beneath layers upon layers thickened over time spent together navigating life's complexities side by side. Without crossing lines drawn clearly defining roles we played effortlessly until now. "I should get back," he finally broke through my thoughts, his voice steadying itself despite lingering tension hanging heavy around us both still caught within remnants left behind after crossing lines once thought impenetrable before tonight's storm brought forth unexpected revelations threatening everything familiar between us forevermore. Yeah. I managed to respond while feeling lost yet strangely alive amidst uncertainty swirling around us both caught between choices made without forethought leading towards consequences unforeseen lying ahead waiting silently just beyond reach readying themselves for whatever might come next. As he stood up abruptly breaking contact leaving me feeling cold despite warmth lingering where our bodies had touched moments earlier. I couldn't shake off feelings swirling inside battling against guilt rising sharply demanding attention alongside excitement pulsing through veins reminding me how alive this moment truly felt even while knowing full well dangers lurked nearby readying themselves for confrontation inevitable once dawn broke revealing truths hidden away beneath shadows cast. During storms raging outside still echoing loudly against walls surrounding us providing backdrop for decisions looming ahead. But even amidst chaos surrounding everything else, the most significant choice remained mine alone. Would I allow myself freedom found within those stolen moments shared under cover of darkness? Or would guilt keep shackles firmly fastened around heart preventing any further exploration into depths unknown lying ahead waiting patiently while storms continued raging outside? The storm outside rumbled on, a relentless force that mirrored the turmoil within me. I stood in the dim light of the living room, shadows dancing across the walls as lightning illuminated fleeting glimpses of our family photos. Each frame felt like a reminder of what I was risking, but also what I had longed for in moments of solitude. The air was thick with unspoken words and unresolved feelings, and I could hardly breathe. I glanced towards the kitchen, where he had just been. The warmth of his presence lingered like an echo, a reminder of the connection we had shared moments before. Our lips met, an innocent brush that ignited something deep inside me. It wasn't just physical, it was as if the storm had awakened dormant emotions, feelings I had buried beneath layers of responsibility and societal expectations. Yet guilt clawed at my insides. What were we doing? This wasn't just a fleeting moment, it was a violation of everything I believed in. The weight of my marriage hung heavily on my shoulders, a constant reminder that my husband was away, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within our home. A knock at the door shattered my thoughts, sending a jolt through me. Who could it be at this hour? My heart raced as I approached the door cautiously. Peering through the peephole revealed Mrs. Thompson, our neighbor from down the street, her silhouette framed by flashes of lightning. "Hello?" I called out hesitantly as I opened the door slightly. "Oh dear. Is everything all right?" "You look pale," she remarked, concern etched on her face. I forced a smile, trying to mask my inner chaos. "Just a bit overwhelmed by the storm. Mind if I come in for a moment?" It's quite dreadful out here, she said, stepping inside before I could respond. As she settled onto our couch, I felt an urge to retreat into another room, to escape this unexpected intrusion that threatened to expose everything swirling beneath the surface. Can I get you something to drink? Oh, no need. Just wanted to check on you, she replied with an air of familiarity that made me uneasy. Her presence felt invasive amidst my thoughts and fears. It was difficult to maintain composure while grappling with emotions that were already on edge. Thank you for stopping by, I managed to say while glancing toward the kitchen where he still lingered in my mind. Mrs. Thompson began chatting about trivial matters, the weather, local gossip, but her words faded into background noise as my thoughts drifted back to him again. How could this have happened? How did we reach this point where desire eclipsed reason? Just then, a loud clap of thunder resonated through the house, causing Mrs. Thompson to jump slightly in her seat. Goodness! That one sounded close, she said nervously. Yes, I replied absent-mindedly as memories flooded back, moments shared during family gatherings when laughter filled our home and warmth enveloped us all like a comforting blanket. Have you heard about those whispers going around town? Mrs. Thompson continued, her voice dropping conspiratorially. I turned back towards her sharply, curiosity piqued despite myself. What whispers? They say there's trouble brewing in some families, secrets coming out into the open. She leaned closer as if sharing state secrets rather than mere neighborhood gossip. A chill ran down my spine as dread settled over me like thick fog rolling in from Lake Michigan on cold autumn nights. My instincts screamed at me to shut this conversation down before it spiraled into dangerous territory, before she sensed any hint of what lay beneath my carefully constructed facade. What kind of secrets? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Oh, you know how folks can be. Stories about marriages falling apart or children acting strangely. She waved her hand dismissively but then fixed me with an intense gaze that made me squirm under its scrutiny. It struck me how easily rumors could unravel lives, how one misstep could lead to revelations no one was prepared for, or worse yet, consequences none could foresee until too late. I'm sure it's just talk, I replied hastily while trying not to betray any sign of anxiety creeping up on me like shadows closing in around an unwary traveler lost after dark. Perhaps, she mused thoughtfully before changing topics again, but her words lingered in my mind like an ominous cloud overhead threatening rain at any moment, a reminder that nothing remained hidden forever even amidst storms raging outside or within hearts burdened by forbidden desires. As Mrs. Thompson continued chatting about mundane things, the local bake sale or church potluck, I found myself nodding along mechanically while battling thoughts spiraling outwards into darker territories where consequences loomed large above every decision made under cover darkness enveloping us all alike. Finally excusing myself under pretense needing fresh air away from prying eyes inside living room suffocating under weight heavy enough drown hopes dreams ambitions alike, I stepped onto porch feeling raindrops begin fall gently against skin awakening senses dulled during earlier conversations filled with trivialities masking deeper truths left unspoken. Standing there alone listening sounds surrounding me, the rustling leaves swaying rhythmically against gusts wind howling past, my heart raced anew recalling stolen moments shared between us hidden away from prying eyes lurking nearby ready strike whenever least expected. But even amidst chaos surrounding everything else, the most significant choice remained mine alone. Would I allow myself freedom found within those stolen moments shared under cover darkness? Or would guilt keep shackles firmly fastened around heart preventing any further exploration into depths unknown lying ahead waiting patiently while storms continued raging outside? In that moment standing alone beneath darkened sky illuminated only flashes lightning revealing fleeting glimpses memories flooding mind, I felt torn between two worlds battling fiercely for dominance over soul-yearning escape confines imposed upon life choices made long ago. The storm raged outside, its fury echoing my inner turmoil. I stood in the dim glow of a single candle, the flickering flame casting shadows on the walls that felt like ghosts of my past. Memories swirled around me, each one a reminder of the life I had built, yet now felt so distant. The letter I had found earlier lay crumpled on the table, its contents weighing heavily on my mind. The words penned by my husband years ago revealed family tensions I had long buried. It spoke of dreams unfulfilled and aspirations lost in the grind of everyday life. The tone was filled with longing for connection, a stark contrast to our current reality where silence often filled the spaces between us. How had we drifted so far apart? The letter was both a comfort and a curse, a reminder that love could fade into mere coexistence. As thunder cracked overhead, I thought about how easily things could change in an instant. My heart raced at the thought of my son's presence in the house, his laughter echoing in my mind like a haunting melody. We spent the night together after that stormy evening. It was a moment suspended in time, both exhilarating and terrifying. Each shared glance held a weight that was impossible to ignore. I glanced at the clock. My husband would be away for another few days. The loneliness settled back into my bones like an old friend, familiar yet unwelcome. I had always prided myself on being strong, resilient against life's storms, until now. The very thought of what lay ahead filled me with dread. "Mom?" His voice broke through my reverie, pulling me from my thoughts. He stood at the doorway, silhouetted against the flickering light behind him. "Are you okay?" "Just thinking," I replied softly, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. He stepped closer, concern etched across his face. "About Dad?" I nodded slowly, feeling an ache deep within me as memories flooded back, the warmth of family dinners and shared laughter now overshadowed by distance and unspoken words. "Things have been weird lately," he continued cautiously. "With everything going on, it feels like we're all just pretending." His honesty struck me like lightning. It was refreshing yet terrifying to hear him speak so openly about our family dynamics. "Sometimes," I said carefully, "life can feel overwhelming." He studied me for a moment before responding. "You can talk to me about anything." The sincerity in his voice made my heart ache more profoundly than before. In this moment of vulnerability between us, I felt an urge to reach out, to close the gap that had widened over time due to unspoken fears and desires. But then there was that letter again. Its implications loomed large over our fragile connection like dark clouds threatening another storm. "I appreciate that," I finally managed to say, taking a step back into safer territory where boundaries existed clearly defined by societal norms. He shifted his weight from one foot to another as if grappling with something unsaid himself. "I just want you to be happy." His words hung heavy in the air between us, a promise tinged with uncertainty and longing for something more than what we dared to acknowledge aloud. Before I could respond further or delve deeper into this unexpected conversation, he turned away abruptly toward the kitchen where remnants of dinner awaited cleanup. As he walked away, I felt an emptiness settle back into place, a reminder that though connections may spark fleeting moments of intimacy and understanding, they were often accompanied by shadows lurking just beyond reach. The storm outside intensified again. Rain lashed against windows while wind howled through trees lining our yard, a fitting backdrop for chaos swirling within me too. I picked up the crumpled letter once more and read through it again slowly. Each word seemed heavier than before, as if it bore witness not only to past grievances but also unfulfilled dreams lingering still unresolved between us all these years later. Suddenly overwhelmed by emotions rising within me like floodwaters threatening to breach their banks, I pressed my palms against cold wooden table, trying desperately to ground myself amidst turmoil unfurling around every corner of life lately. Should I confront these feelings? Or bury them deeper still? The choice weighed heavily upon me as rain drummed relentlessly against rooftops outside, echoing rhythms matching pulse quickening beneath surface skin yearning release from confines imposed upon heart long ago. Then came another flash of lightning illuminating room briefly, a stark reminder that clarity often comes only through chaos unleashed first upon unsuspecting souls caught unaware amidst storms raging outside their control. In moments such as these, when darkness envelopes everything familiar, it becomes easy to forget how fragile life truly is beneath surface calmness, masking deeper currents swirling just below sightline, waiting patiently until they're ready to reveal themselves fully without warning. Perhaps confronting those hidden truths would lead toward liberation rather than destruction? Perhaps embracing vulnerability might open doors previously sealed shut tight, preventing any light from filtering through darkness, dwelling within hearts yearning connection despite fears keeping them apart. But even contemplating such possibilities brought forth anxiety gnawing insistently at edges, consciousness reminding me there were consequences attached, choices made along the way, choices which could irrevocably alter lives intertwined forevermore. As thunder rolled overhead, once more shaking foundation beneath feet, I knew then this wasn't merely about navigating feelings toward sun anymore. It encompassed entire tapestry woven together throughout years spent building family forged under pressures society imposed upon us all. I took a deep breath, steadying myself against rising tide, emotions threatening sweep all away, leaving nothing but wreckage behind if not careful navigating waters ahead. And yet, despite risks involved, there lingered hope somewhere deep inside, yearning exploration beyond boundaries imposed upon lives lived thus far. Would embracing those desires lead toward healing or destruction? Would facing truths reveal strength hidden beneath layers, fear holding tightly onto past mistakes made long ago? With each passing moment spent alone under cover darkness illuminated only by flickering candlelight, I found myself standing at precipice, choice looming large before me, beckoning forward into unknown territory, fraught uncertainty yet rich possibility waiting patiently just beyond horizon line, shimmering faintly ahead. The storm had passed, leaving behind a heavy silence that seemed to echo in the corners of my mind. I stood in the kitchen, staring out the window at the remnants of rain pooling on the ground. The world felt washed clean, yet my thoughts were muddied with confusion and guilt. I had always prided myself on being a good mother, a devoted wife, but now those roles felt like masks I wore too tightly. As I prepared dinner, I caught glimpses of my son through the open doorway. He was on the couch, absorbed in a book. The sight stirred something deep within me, an unsettling mix of pride and longing. I tried to shake off the feelings like water off a duck's back, but they clung to me stubbornly. "Mom," he called out suddenly, breaking my reverie. "Do you remember that festival we used to go to every summer?" His voice was light, filled with nostalgia. It reminded me of happier times when life felt simpler and less complicated by hidden desires. "Of course," I replied, forcing a smile. "We always had fun there." "Maybe we should go this year," he suggested casually, as if proposing a trip to the grocery store rather than stirring up memories that threatened to unravel me. "Yeah," I said softly, trying not to betray my inner turmoil. "That could be nice." The thought of revisiting those moments filled me with warmth but also dread. What if we ran into someone who knew us? What if someone noticed how different things were now? Just then, my phone buzzed on the counter, a sharp reminder of reality intruding upon our moment. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen. "I know what you're hiding." My heart raced as panic set in. Who could it be? How much did they know? "Mom?" My son's voice broke through my thoughts again. "Just a spam message," I said hastily, trying to sound nonchalant as I tucked my phone away. He raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. Instead, he returned to his book while I resumed chopping vegetables, though each slice felt heavier than before. Anxiety gnawed at me. The walls of our home felt like they were closing in. Later that evening, as we sat down for dinner together, a rare occasion, I tried to focus on our conversation about school and friends. Yet every laugh he shared felt like an echo from another life, one where innocence reigned unchallenged by darker thoughts. "I miss those days," he said wistfully after sharing a story about his friends from high school. "What days?" I asked absent-mindedly. The festival days, he replied softly. When everything seemed so carefree. I nodded but couldn't meet his gaze. Instead, I stared at my plate as if it held answers to questions I dared not voice aloud. How could I explain that those carefree days were slipping away from us? That beneath the surface of our family life lay currents pulling us apart? After dinner, while washing dishes in silence with him drying beside me, an uncomfortable tension hung in the air like humidity before another storm, thick and suffocating. Mom? He hesitated before continuing. Is everything okay between us? His question struck me like lightning, unexpected and electrifying. Of course. The word came out sharper than intended. He looked down at his hands and shrugged lightly. You seem different lately. I wanted to reach out and reassure him that nothing was wrong, that it was just stress from work or life, but how could I explain this storm brewing inside me? Instead, silence enveloped us once again until he finally excused himself for bed. Alone in the quiet house once more, I sank onto the couch with my thoughts swirling around like leaves caught in an autumn breeze, chaotic yet beautiful in their own way. The flickering candlelight cast shadows across familiar spaces filled with memories that now felt tainted by uncertainty and desire. As night fell deeper around me and darkness settled like a heavy blanket over our home, sleep eluded me completely. My mind drifted back to our last encounter, the kiss we shared under cover of darkness, and how it had ignited something primal within me that refused to be extinguished. The weight of my secret pressed down harder than ever, each heartbeat echoed louder in this stillness filled with unspoken words and hidden truths waiting for release. Just then, another buzz from my phone startled me from my reverie once more, a new message from that same unknown number. You can't keep hiding forever. My heart raced anew as fear gripped hold tighter than before. Who was this person? What did they know? The implications sent shivers down my spine as dread settled heavily over me like fog rolling into town at dawn, thickening around every corner until visibility became nearly impossible. In desperation for distraction, and perhaps clarity, I grabbed my jacket and headed outside into the cool night air where stars twinkled overhead like distant beacons guiding lost souls homeward. The lakeside park was empty save for shadows cast by moonlight dancing across rippling water. Here nature offered solace amidst chaos swirling within me, a brief respite from burdens weighing heavily upon shoulders already strained under pressure too great to bear alone any longer. Sitting on a bench overlooking tranquil waters reflecting shimmering lights above brought fleeting peace, however fleeting it may be against backdrop uncertainty looming large just beyond horizon line ahead. Suddenly footsteps broke through stillness behind me, heavy yet cautious, and turned slowly expecting familiar face only find stranger standing there cloaked darkness casting long shadow across ground between us both. Who are you? My voice trembled slightly despite attempts steady calmness beneath surface turmoil bubbling just below skin ready erupt forth any moment now. I'm someone who knows your secret, came reply laced tension thick enough cut through air surrounding us both instantly filling void left previously untouched moments ago. My heart pounded louder than ever before drowning out sounds nature surrounding us. Realization dawning heavy upon chest constricting breath stolen away entirely leaving nothing behind except cold grip fear tightening around throat forcing words lodged deep inside escape finally. The storm outside continued to rage, punctuating the silence of my thoughts with bursts of thunder. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the flickering candlelight casting shadows on the walls, battling the weight of my secret. The air felt heavy, thick with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. I could hear the faint patter of rain against the window, an echo of the turmoil within me. My husband was still away on business, and his absence gnawed at me like a persistent ache. The argument we had before he left replayed in my mind, a haunting reminder of how distant we had become. "You're not the woman I married," he had said, frustration lacing his voice. Those words stung more than I cared to admit. They hung in the air long after he'd walked out, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a growing sense of isolation. I poured myself a glass of wine, hoping it would dull the sharp edges of my anxiety. The familiar taste did little to soothe me. Instead, it stirred memories of happier times when laughter filled our home. Now, it felt like a shell, empty and echoing with unfulfilled promises. Then there was him, my son. The thought of him sent a shiver down my spine, both thrilling and terrifying. Our moments together during this storm had awakened something deep within me that I struggled to comprehend. Each glance exchanged between us seemed to ignite an unquenchable fire that threatened to engulf everything in its path. The sound of footsteps broke through my reverie as he entered the room, shaking off droplets from his hair like a wet dog. "Hey," he said softly, his voice almost drowned out by the wind outside. "Hey," I managed to reply, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. He stepped closer, concern etching lines on his forehead as he noticed my unease. "Are you all right? You seem tense." "I'm fine," I lied, but even as I spoke those words, I could feel the tension coiling tighter within me. He leaned against the counter beside me, his presence both comforting and disconcerting. "You know you can talk to me about anything," he offered gently. I wanted to reach out and tell him everything, the chaos swirling inside me, how much I missed him when he wasn't around, but fear held me back. What would he think? What would it mean for us? The weight of my feelings pressed heavily on my chest as if they were tangible chains binding me to this moment. "Just thinking about life," I replied vaguely. His gaze pierced through my facade. "Life can be complicated," he said quietly. I nodded but couldn't find the words to express what lay beneath that surface-level conversation. Instead, I changed the subject abruptly. "Did you finish your project for school?" He shrugged lightly but didn't take his eyes off mine. "It's coming along." The silence stretched between us again, a taut line ready to snap under pressure, and then thunder rumbled ominously outside once more. In that moment of distraction, all rational thought slipped away as memories flooded back, moments shared in laughter and warmth, the way we used to connect without hesitation or fear. And then there was that kiss, an electric jolt that shattered everything I thought I knew about love and boundaries. We kissed. Those two words echoed in my mind like an incantation summoning forth forbidden desires that lingered just beneath the surface. "Mom?" His voice cut through my reverie again, concern mingled with confusion danced across his features. I blinked rapidly as if waking from a dream where reality blurred into something unrecognizable. "Sorry, what did you say? Are you sure you're okay?" He stepped closer again, warmth radiated from him like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. With every heartbeat echoing louder than before, panic surged within me, a desperate need for clarity amidst chaos swirling around us both, yet all I could muster was silence laden with secrets too heavy to share aloud. "I'm fine," came out weaker than intended as guilt wrapped around each syllable spoken aloud. How could I lie so easily when truth lay just beneath skin? He studied me intently for what felt like an eternity before finally speaking again. "You know, sometimes talking helps." I wanted so desperately for him to understand, not just about this moment but everything lurking behind closed doors. The struggles hidden beneath layers built over years spent wearing masks crafted from societal expectations and unyielding norms surrounding family bonds. But then there was that message still hanging over my head like an ominous cloud threatening rain, a reminder that someone else knew about our connection, someone who might expose what we shared if given half a chance. What if? My voice faltered as uncertainty crept back into focus once more. The fear clawing at edges threatening collapse under weight too great for either one of us alone to bear anymore without consequences looming large overhead like shadows cast by flickering candlelight dancing across walls surrounding us both now trapped within fragile intimacy forged amidst storms raging outside our home while storms brewed inside hearts yearning for freedom yet shackled by invisible chains binding souls together against all odds despite risks involved. "Mom?" His tone shifted slightly, a hint of urgency creeping into his words now penetrating deeper than surface-level concerns previously expressed moments ago. I took a deep breath. It felt like stepping onto thin ice, knowing full well consequences awaited should cracks form beneath feet unsure where they stood anymore amidst shifting tides pulling them apart slowly yet surely inch by inch until nothing remained solid ground left underneath their feet anymore. I think we need to talk about what happened. His voice trailed off uncertainly as realization dawned heavy upon us both. An acknowledgement lingering in air, thickening with tension palpable enough cut through silence, enveloping us now cocooned within confines created by choices made long ago, leading us here today standing at crossroads neither one prepared navigate alone without guidance, or direction offered freely without judgment passed down harshly from others watching closely, waiting expectantly, hoping witness downfall unfold right before their eyes. The door creaked open suddenly behind us, breaking spell cast over room. Startled glances exchanged between mother-son, caught unaware, momentarily frozen time suspended mid-breath, awaiting inevitable fallout sure follow next few seconds unfolding unpredictably ahead, filled uncertainty lurking just beyond horizon, waiting patiently strike when least expected, catching unaware those least prepared face consequences, actions taken previously without forethought given pause reflect upon choices made. Leading here today standing precariously edge precipice ready plunge forward, uncertain future beckoning, brightly illuminated path ahead yet shrouded darkness looming large overhead, threatening consume whole world around them, both alive, vibrant, filled possibilities awaiting discovery beyond boundaries set long ago, restricting movement, freedom promised yet denied time after time until finally breaking free, shackles holding tight, no longer willing, remain silent, suffer quietly while watching life pass by unseen, unnoticed, unheard. The storm outside continued to rage, its fury echoing the turmoil within me. I stood in the kitchen, staring blankly at the flickering candlelight casting shadows across the walls, my heart racing from the tension that filled the air. My husband's unexpected arrival had thrown everything into disarray. He had come home early, his presence a stark reminder of the life I had built but felt increasingly detached from. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face as he stepped inside, shaking off raindrops from his coat. I could sense his unease, an awareness of something unspoken lingering between us. "Just a storm," I replied softly, forcing a smile that felt foreign. "Nothing to worry about." But my mind was elsewhere, on my son, on our last encounter that left an indelible mark on my soul. The electricity flickered back on briefly before plunging us into darkness again. My heart sank as I thought of my son upstairs, likely lost in his own thoughts, grappling with his struggles. The weight of our shared secret pressed heavily on me. How could I explain this growing bond without unraveling everything? "Have you spoken to him lately?" my husband asked, breaking through my reverie. His voice was steady but tinged with an underlying tension. I hesitated for a moment too long before answering. "He's been busy with school." The lie tasted bitter on my tongue, knowing full well how much more complicated things had become. As we stood there in silence, the storm outside roared louder, thunder rumbling like a warning bell. I could feel it, a shift in the air that hinted at something inevitable looming over us all. The weight of unspoken words hung thick between my husband and me, each second stretched into eternity as we both avoided acknowledging what was really happening beneath the surface. "I think we need to talk," he finally said, his voice low and serious. My heart raced again, not from fear of confrontation but from the sudden realization that this conversation might lead to truths better left unspoken. "About what?" I asked cautiously. "About us," he replied simply, searching my eyes for answers that were hard to find even within myself. Before I could respond, footsteps echoed down the hallway, the sound unmistakable and yet so jarring against the backdrop of our strained moment. My son appeared in the doorway, looking disheveled yet alert despite the late hour and raging storm. "Dad? What are you doing home?" His eyes darted between us as if sensing the charged atmosphere crackling around us. "We were just talking," my husband said quickly, perhaps too quickly for it to feel natural. My son raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. Instead, he walked over to grab a flashlight from the drawer and turned it on. The beam cut through the darkness like a lifeline amidst chaos. "I thought I heard something outside," he said casually enough, but there was an intensity behind his words that made me uneasy. Had he felt it too? The pull between us? "Just thunder," I replied lightly, attempting to deflect attention away from anything deeper lurking beneath the surface of our interactions. But as they exchanged pleasantries about school and upcoming plans, mundane topics meant to fill space. My mind raced back to moments shared with my son when we were alone together during those dark hours of power outage and unspoken desires surfacing like waves crashing against fragile shores. I stole glances at him, the way he moved with ease around our familiar space yet carried burdens unseen by anyone else, how his laughter felt like music amid silence filled with tension, how every fleeting touch seemed charged with meaning beyond mere familial affection. The evening dragged on as we navigated awkward small talk while outside lightning illuminated fleeting glimpses of nature's fury, each flash reminding me of choices made and consequences looming ahead like shadows at dusk waiting patiently for nightfall to claim them entirely. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, I excused myself under pretense of needing fresh air despite knowing full well what lay beyond those walls, uncertainty mingled with desire swirling around me like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind, beautiful yet chaotic all at once. Stepping outside onto our porch drenched in rain-soaked earthiness brought clarity amidst confusion. Droplets fell softly against skin tinged with warmth from earlier moments shared indoors, a juxtaposition that felt both grounding and unsettling simultaneously as memories flooded back uninvited. Laughter echoing under dim lights during family dinners turned bittersweet now laden with guilt woven tightly into fabric of everyday life lived beneath surface calmness hiding storms brewing below, waiting patiently for release. As thunder rumbled overhead once more, a reminder life's unpredictability, I took a deep breath trying desperately regain composure while battling conflicting emotions churning within me like tempestuous seas threatening capsized vessel anchored firmly against shorelines long established yet beginning erode slowly under weight secrets held too tightly. Then came another flash, a text message pinged through darkness shattering fragile moment alone. Instinctively reaching for phone revealed anonymous sender leaving cryptic words hanging heavy air. "I know what you've done." Panic surged through me like wildfire consuming everything in its path igniting fears long buried deep inside. Who could know what would happen next? Heart racing faster than ever before, I stumbled back inside grasping phone tightly feeling its weight heavier than lead pressing down upon chest threatening suffocate any remaining sense control left over spiraling situation unfolding rapidly beyond comprehension. My husband glanced up concerned eyes meeting mine searching for answers hidden behind facade crumbling before him piece by piece until finally unable to hold back any longer. I broke down whispering barely audible words filled raw emotion. "We need to talk." But before anything else could escape lips thunder crashed once more shaking foundations beneath feet leaving uncertainty lingering thickly around us all suffocating everything previously held dear. The air in the room was thick with tension, a palpable weight pressing down on us as I struggled to find the right words. My husband's brow furrowed deeper, the flickering light from the candles casting shadows that danced across his face. "What is it?" he asked, voice low and cautious, as if he feared the answer might shatter what little remained of our fragile connection. "Everything," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The storm outside roared louder, drowning out our words momentarily. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, a drum echoing the chaos of my thoughts. "I'm not sure how we got here." He shifted in his seat, his expression shifting from concern to confusion. "You mean this? Us?" "Yes," I admitted, my hands trembling slightly as I clasped them together on my lap. "I've been feeling lost." The storm outside seemed to respond to my admission, thunder rumbling like an angry beast ready to unleash its fury. In that moment of vulnerability, memories flooded back, moments shared with our son that felt both innocent and charged with something deeper. "I don't know how to fix this," he said finally, his voice strained as if he were grappling with his own demons. The truth hung heavily between us, unspoken yet understood. A flash of lightning illuminated the room briefly before plunging us back into darkness once more. The power had gone out entirely now, only the sound of rain pummeling against the windows filled the silence. It felt like a metaphor for our lives, chaotic and out of control. "I need some air," I said suddenly, standing up and moving toward the door before I could second-guess myself. My husband's eyes followed me, a mixture of worry and frustration etched across his features. Outside, the storm raged on, but somehow it felt different now, less threatening and more like a cleansing force. I walked toward the lakeside park where I often sought solace during difficult times. The trees swayed violently in the wind as if they too were caught up in turmoil. As I reached the water's edge, memories flooded me again, days spent here with my son when he was younger, laughter echoing off the surface of the lake. But now those memories were tainted by feelings that made me question everything I thought I knew about love and family. A sudden gust of wind sent chills down my spine as raindrops began to fall heavily around me. It was almost comforting. Nature's fury mirrored my own internal struggle. Just then, a figure emerged from behind a tree, a silhouette against the backdrop of lightning flashes. "Mom?" It was him, my son's voice cutting through the chaos like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. "What are you doing here?" I asked sharply, surprised and unprepared for this encounter. "I saw you leave, thought you might need company," he replied cautiously as he stepped closer. My heart raced at his proximity, it felt both reassuring and dangerous all at once. "It's not safe out here," I warned him even though part of me welcomed his presence amidst this storm. "I can handle it," he insisted softly but confidently as he moved closer still until we stood side by side at the water's edge. The rain fell harder now. Droplets splattered against our skin like tiny bullets fired from nature itself. We stood there in silence for what felt like an eternity, a shared understanding passing between us without words needing to be spoken aloud. "Do you ever think about everything that's happened?" he finally asked quietly, breaking through my thoughts once more. "What do you mean?" "Us, this family." His gaze was intense yet vulnerable. It pierced through me like an arrow aimed straight at my heart. A flash of lightning illuminated his face just then. His expression was earnest and searching for answers just like mine had been moments ago with my husband. "I think about it all the time," I confessed without hesitation now that we were alone together under this tempestuous sky. He took a step closer, our shoulders brushed against one another, a small spark igniting within me despite all reasoning attempting to quench it down again. "I wish things were different," he murmured almost inaudibly over thunder roaring above us. "Me too," I admitted before realizing how dangerous those words could be given our current circumstances, the implications lurking beneath them heavy like lead weights dragging me further into murky waters where guilt threatened to drown any semblance of clarity left within me. Before either of us could say another word or act on any impulse bubbling beneath surfaces carefully constructed over years spent pretending everything was fine, something shifted dramatically around us. The wind howled louder than ever before while dark clouds loomed ominously overhead signaling imminent danger approaching swiftly from afar. "We should go back," I urged suddenly feeling fear creep into my bones urging caution even amidst desire swirling dangerously close just beneath surface tensions threatening eruption at any moment now. But just then, a blinding flash lit up sky illuminating everything around us starkly revealing truths hidden away far too long buried deep inside hearts yearning for release. And then came another crash, a thunderous roar shaking ground beneath feet sending shockwaves through both bodies standing there frozen momentarily caught between choices made long ago versus paths yet unexplored waiting patiently beckoning forth new beginnings. In that instant clarity struck hard leaving no room left for doubt. whatever lay ahead would change everything forevermore. Yet before we could move or speak again, a sudden crack echoed sharply through air surrounding us, shattering fragile moment completely apart, leaving only echoes behind, fading rapidly into night.